Another developing news story this afternoon. Libyan fighters have now taken over Gaddafi loyalists' final holdouts in the Colonel's hometown, with reports now saying that Sirte has fallen. The city's been besieged for weeks. These are the latest live pictures we're getting through on your screen now, with thousands of civilians, of course, trapped in the crossfire, with the new regime regarding it as the symbolic last step to victory over Gaddafi. Let's discuss it now with international relations professor Mark Almond. Mark, as I say, a very good afternoon to you. We were just looking at the pictures there, gunfire into the air, celebratory gunfire, I guess, for the news that's come through this afternoon in the last couple of hours, that Sirte finally has been taken. For the new leadership, though, does taking Sirte mean a total victory? There are still pockets of loyalist resistance. Is this the end of it? Where do you think it's going to go, Mark?
Well, it may be the beginning of the end, but probably perhaps the end of the beginning. The rebels have now taken control of the whole northern coastline of Libya, where most people live, but there are big swathes of territory deep into the south, into the desert, which are not under their control. And of course, they certainly don't have Colonel Gaddafi and his leading sons as yet under their control. And so the risk must be for the rebel transitional council government in Tripoli that Colonel Gaddafi has adopted a new strategy, that he's recognised that he can't fight head-on against NATO, air power, plus the rebels on the ground. And so Bani Walid and Sirte have given up in the last 2 days. Maybe this is a collapse of his support, but maybe it's also a change in strategy, that he wants to start an insurgency, which Mahmoud Jabril, the Prime Minister of the interim government, has admitted is a possibility. We have to remember, after all, in Iraq, the fall of Baghdad and Tikrit, Saddam Hussein's hometown, wasn't the end of the fighting, it was the beginning of the insurgency.
Of course, Mark, we're going to keep on these live pictures coming through from Sirte, the celebrations from at least the people we're seeing on the screen here, gunfire into the air. I mean, as the politics play out, as the toing and froing happens, of course, we mustn't forget the huge human suffering here. We were talking to an eyewitness, one of our guests on the programme last night, who's just come back from Sirte. He talked about the desperation of the thousands of civilians who remain there. What can be done for them now?
Well, this is a big problem, isn't it? NATO, after all, intervened apparently on humanitarian grounds, yet this long drawn-out civil war has led to thousands of deaths, many, many thousands of injuries, terrible shortages of food and medicine. And really, the NATO alliance has a considerable responsibility to provide that. But actually, trying to restore the economy and the functioning of things like hospitals and the sewage system is easier said than done. And I'm afraid this is going to be potentially one of the big sources of ongoing conflict. There are a lot of Libyans who sided with Gaddafi, there are a lot of Libyans who took no side, but those who've suffered, those who've seen members of their family killed, disappeared, may well now blame the victorious rebels. And so, far from seeing the end of fighting, this victory could be the source of new feuds. And you have to remember, Libya has a tradition, if you like, of feuds and vendettas, and it would be, I think, naive to think that simply seeing the rebel flag raised and Colonel Gaddafi's green flag pulled down is the end of the story. We've had perhaps too many false starts to the end of this story.
And what about NATO's operation? It's been maintaining a course all along. It will continue its strikes in Libya until the fighting ends. Well, now Syria's taken. Is this the end of the line as far as NATO's concerned?
Well, it could be, but of course this is where we might see an insurgency. Exactly 100 years ago, the Italians occupied the Libyan coast and used aeroplanes to suppress resistance and proclaim victory. And then the war went on from 1911 to 1932 in the desert. I wonder whether we're not going to face a rerun of that first intervention in Libya, that first use of air power. And NATO may yet find itself drawn deeper and deeper into the desert. Unless Colonel Gaddafi is caught, unless his sons are caught, there is the potential for an ongoing resistance, and as I say, unless some miraculous transformation in the economy and society takes place so that everybody feels happy with the new system, the risks are that there will be infighting amongst different groups and also a continued insurgency by those who feel that Gaddafi was preferable to what has come. But even those who hated Gaddafi may not feel that they're happy with each other. And in fact, I think myself the fall of Gaddafi, if he was captured, far from ending trouble in Libya, could be the spark to new conflicts when those who hang together because they fear Gaddafi coming back fall apart once they no longer need to fear him.
Mark, briefly, if you can, I just wanted to talk about Gaddafi. His whereabouts still are known, but nonetheless, we've got the US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton just a few days ago saying that they want to see him captured or killed. What's going to happen to him, do you think?
Well, I'm sure the Americans and the NATO allies and their allies on the ground in Libya are doing all they can, in effect, to kill Colonel Gaddafi. Capturing Colonel Gaddafi, as with capturing Saddam Hussein, is simply prolongs the agony. But, of course, as we've seen, the efforts to use high-tech weapons to kill Colonel Gaddafi have not been very successful so far. Maybe NATO will have a lucky strike, but maybe Colonel Gaddafi's luck will continue to run. OK, Professor Mark Hartman, thanks for joining us there. And just reminding our viewers what you're seeing on the screen there, Libya's transitional government soldiers say they've taken full control of Sirte, the last city where Gaddafi loyalists had remained holed up. That's according to eyewitnesses and reporters. You're seeing celebratory gunfire. Live pictures coming through from Sirte there, here on RT International.